It's the season premiere of the USFL podcast where we have the USFL CBA ratified, returning player news as we are seeing more transactions with the league, and a special all USFL interview is on deck for this episode 42 of the USFL podcast, and it starts right now.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome one and all to the latest edition of the USFL podcast. Zach Kyleman sitting in here as always. It's my week to host, as you guys know. And coming in with me, I am bringing in my good buddy, pal, co-host, my cohort, my partner in crime. I could give so many more titles to this gentleman. It is the ref himself on the other side, as we are now officially in our season premiere of the USFL podcast. Season 2 is upon us, the first show of 2023. Cheers, everybody. Welcoming everybody in. Good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year, if I hadn't said that to you already. It's weird. It's already several days into the new year, 2 weeks in, but whatever. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Happy New Year, 2023. Like I said, in that best of our last episode, too many twos. Yes. Too many twos in that last year. But the two that I'm worried about in this year is season 2, baby. And you know what? 2 of those season 2s, the one that we're kicking off today with the USFL podcast and the one kicking off April 15th with the USFL, I'm getting hyped.
We're getting so much more, too. That keeps slowly coming out. There's a lot of other news pieces that, of course, needs to be dropped. But we're getting more things I think people are getting pumped up for that have us excited for next year. And we're going to, of course, dive into plenty of that today for our first episode of Season 2 or Episode 42, whatever you want to call it. Either one. No matter what, it's a new episode that we're bringing to you right now. Plenty of stuff on deck, as you heard in the teaser. But before we get into any of this, got to get through, of course, our housekeeping measures, as we always put it. But they're good housekeeping measures. They're things you want to know. Social media-wise, hey, if you jumped onto our social channels lately, look, at USFL Podcast for your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And yes, we do have a TikTok. I promise you, as of the day we release this episode, I am putting my first TikTok out there for this.
And if you don't, I'm putting the dance up there. I'm getting the dance going.
We're going to basically, here's the thing. You're going to get a dance comparison. One of us will get it. It'll be the christening of this TikTok account, but we are going to start posting regularly on that as of this week. That was the plan. Excited to have that. So tune on in and check that out. Again, at USFL Podcast, same deal. One username, 4 different accounts, and also our YouTube account, which, by the way, if you aren't watching this on YouTube, or if you are and you're new to the channel, we got a little bit of a phrase that, I've been drilled to say. It's like it's almost programmed in my head now. And it's this simple, hit that subscribe button, that big red button below the video, and click the bell. It builds morale, because here's the deal. You're going to feel good about it. We're going to feel good about it. And you're going to get some pretty sweet content as we move into season 2, because this stuff's only going to keep getting better and better. We got some great plans ahead for the year. You might want to stick around. Also, if you're wanting some merch for the league here, you're looking for some really good quality stuff, we have a deal with Breaking Tea. They're one of the official merchandise partners of the USFL. Using code USFL Newsroom, you can get 10% off your order by visiting the Breaking Tea website. And they have other alt football memorabilia as well. They got sports memorabilia that's all very much, it's niche, it's unique, it's a different spin on stuff that you want on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, whatever you name it. They got plenty of stuff out there. But go check that out. Again, use code USFL Newsroom at checkout, save 10% off, and you help the show as well when you do that too. I think we got that all covered.
I think we did. I think we got it all. I don't even have anything else to add in. Usually I got something to slide in. New year, no new problems, I guess. I
got one more. Oh. I'm not forgetting this at all. We still have that 5K jersey giveaway.
There we go.
I am not going to forgive that. We're getting that sub count up and up, guys. It has been good. It has been good stuff. I'm glad to see all the new people that have been joining, by the way. And this year, we want to give away a customized USFL jersey, full stock. You put stuff you want together on it. It's yours, and specifically what you want on there. We just got to hit that 5K sub count. All you need to do is sub to our channel. Again, click that bell. builds morale, and you'll be able to be entered into that drawing once we hit 5,000 subs for the USFL Podcast YouTube account. Now we have everything clarified, and now we can dive into a piece that some people might say, well, isn't this redundant? I don't think it is, because we even got some news out of this extra bit. And remember, things aren't official until they're really official. So here's the deal. The USFL players, they have finally ratified the contract that they had with the USFL themselves. So talking by this, I mean the United States Steelworkers, who represent, or US Steel, who represents the USFL players, helps to make the CBA. They're the ones that united with the United Football Players Association, and we had Ryan Cave and Kenneth Farrell on the show a few weeks back. They have now put under a vote for USFL players to ratify the CBA that they had agreed upon with the league. It got 100% vote. So everyone who voted said, yes, I'm taking the deal. This looks good. So that deal is in place officially as of January 9th. A few other things that I'm going to add on here before we, of course, discuss into it. So a little reminder, a few things that were with the deal. Some stuff that's new, by the way, that I thought was fascinating. So active players, again, for $4,500 you're getting for having this deal.
They're going from $4,500 to $5,350. 19%.
Yes, it's going to go up to $5,350. That was I swear I was doing that. I was swinging this around. I might feel like I'm messing with you. I swear I was doing it though.
Sorry.
Just saying. Anyway, it's going up to $5,350 for the base active player pay. Inactive players, again, they get the biggest bonus. They're going up from $1,500 last year to $2,500 this year. That is a 66% increase, 2/3 more pay this year that they're getting just for being inactive on the roster. Housing stipend, massive win again, $400 a week per player. So keep this in mind. A player can get upwards of max $1,600 a month just for having a housing stipend. That covers pretty much most rent across the country for a studio apartment. Keep that in mind. So really, really solid deal that they get. Something they didn't have last year, by the way. Yes, they paid partial hotels, but they weren't paying the entire housing. Things changed. That was a massive win for players. Win bonus is decreasing by half, goes from $10,000 to $5,000 for players. There's no more win incentives, by the way, for certain players as well. So it's more based on benefits as well as, of course, guaranteed money. Remember, they also have 401k. They still get the schooling that they get, from Straggler and other different universities that they want as well. And there's increased roster sizes for the second and third year of the CBA. So this year, same deal for rosters that we had at the end of the year. 50 total, 40 are active, 10 are inactive. Next year and for year 3, 42 active, and we have then 8 inactive. So we're going to see more guys getting better pay and also being able to be ready to go for games. Another thing, though, that was part of this CBA agreement that I thought was fascinating was there's an IR. And this was not there last year. A lot of people were saying, we're asking, okay, well, how's IR being dealt with? A lot of times teams, the way they did it was inactive rosters kind of acted as your IR of sorts, or there seemed to be a few special transaction requirements every now and then, but there wasn't really, it seemed, an official IR. Yeah. This almost solidifies, hey, here's how IR works for the USFL. It's you get 5 weeks. Is how it is. It's a 5-week IR period. So players do get to be put on there. It helps with reserving roster spots for guys that, maybe you want to retain it. You're a guy like, for example, the Panthers have a few guys that probably could have used a IR spot last year. And I know some Panthers fans were hoping that some guys like, say, like a Jeff Badette could have used that maybe for a few weeks instead of having to get cut for roster sections. That is a key piece that got revealed as well during the CBA agreements. Stefan, here's the deal. Massive win. Now it's official. It's out in the blue. How we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. We talked about this before. Some people had brought up, well, hey, there's no win bonuses on the season. But what I think you rightly brought up is guaranteed money, right? Again, let's look at every team is not perfect. Last season, you had the Maulers. Those guys in season 2, if you have a 1-9 season, you're going to walk away with more money in your pocket regardless, right? So to me, I take that as a win for the players. I see it as a win for the league because now, let's be honest here, there's options, right? Yeah. There's more than just the USFL. And this is a guaranteed that, okay, active roster, I'd say is fairly comparable. But the inactive roster, I mean, boy, I would much rather be on an inactive roster in the USFL than the XFL. And that's not a dig on anybody. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere. But to me, and I don't know, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the episode. We're already seeing guys returning to the USFL, some of which were drafted by the XFL. And I have to wonder, I have to pontificate if maybe this going and being enacted may have been part of the thinking process, right? Because, well, one, the season 2 piece is kind of a nice little legitimacy factor. You have a little bit the stability piece of it, knowing that, hey, they already made it through one of these. They're going to the second one. And I mean, Zach, we've talked about it. There's a year 3 plan, but it sounds like they're even thinking a decade out, right? They have things in motion. Or do I go to the XFL where maybe I get hurt and, that's the end of my season and I'm not getting paid anymore, right? I mean, there's a big deal that came out about that last week. I don't know the ins and outs of I think somebody had posted in the Discord, Zach, about the training camp details for the XFL, and it had mentioned that players weren't going to get paid if they got injured. I think it was a misunderstanding, so I won't speak on that too much.
No.
But this, we do know is guaranteed. And even more so, we're seeing an increase, right? So if you played last year, just by coming back, you're seeing a nice increase just by doing that, whether it's inactive or active roster. And let's be honest here, it just gives, I think, the legitimacy factor that is just a nice thing to have it's not a startup. I think calling the USFL a startup is not the right word, but you get what I'm saying here, because I mean, they're not like a startup in the eyes of like they're a small company. I mean, they're run by a very large corporation in Fox, but for all intents and purposes, they are still a startup. They're fairly new. It's second year in, right? And so having this legitimacy factor going into this, I think helps them. And maybe, like I said, for some of these guys we'll talk about a little bit later in this episode, maybe had part in some of these guys coming in instead of going over to the XFL, which, I mean, nobody will say it, but that has to be something that's top of mind somewhere in there. Is you want to retain as many of the star players as you can, as many of the big names as you can, any of the productive players that you can going in any business. And that's not exclusive to football. I mean, that goes with even my day job. If we have a good hard worker and they get a job offer somewhere else, well, shoot, we're going to try to make things happen to keep them. And although this isn't directly tied and orchestrated by the league, it was agreed upon, and it seems to be that both parties are happy, which is another huge part of this, because, I mean, let's look at the alternative reality here where a CBA gets voted in and Fox and the USFL's like, well, what do we do with this? Right? And that doesn't seem to be the case at all. So,
well, no, it's something I'll reiterate from my conversation with, Ryan Cave, Kenneth Farrow there, Cave's board executive over there for UFLPA, and Kenneth is, or for the UFPA, and then Kenneth is the president of the UFPA. Ryan was one that was a lot more, I think, upfront, or was one that was a lot more in terms of dealing with this. And it sounds like, for the most part, Fox was extremely cooperative with this. Like he went as far as saying that they were very helpful in this entire process. So, for all the talk, I mean, look, we talk about, players unions in the NFL and the CFL all the time. And anytime that comes up, it's always, anytime you talk about, I think, a collective bargaining agreement with something like this, most of the time it's the sides kind of butting heads. Right. I thought it was kind of nice for a change that, I think Fox, seeing that it was coming anyway, that they said, hey, you know what, we might as well embrace it, because, it's best to, we see the, and I think Daryl Johnston knows this too. If we're thinking about the past, like, Johnston's been involved with the previous 2 iterations of what spring football could have been. And I think he's a former player himself. He gets both sides of the fence with this. Right. So, that's somebody, I think, if you're talking a great reference point for all these things, I think that's a great way of saying, like, hey, we should support this and be active. And they did. I think they did right. it sounds like from the players' side of it, things they did right too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, everybody seems to be happy, and I don't know. I think that's kind of the end goal you want with anything like this, is to both sides to walk away with a smile on their face. And so if they're happy, I'm happy. If it makes sure that, guys stick with the league, I'm happy. If it makes sure that guys get treated fairly, I'm happy. I mean, let's be honest here, Zach. We've seen the AAF, different circumstances, but we saw it with the XFL. We saw it with even more recently, Major League Football. Time and time and again, we've seen these guys left high and dry. Now, the USFL is a different story. They made it a full season. They're going into season 2. But you got to admit, it's nice to have that extra little fail-safe. Just a little bit extra fail-safe that wasn't available in each of these other previous leagues that, for different reasons didn't expired early, we'll say. Right?
Right.
You got to be looking at that like as a potential player, whether you're looking into returning to the USFL, you're a guy maybe coming out of college that undrafted and you want to continue your career and maybe have to choose which league. I mean, this helps. I would have to imagine. Now, I think you brought it up, Zach, though. Different people think differently. I know that there's a lot of opinions on this, but even then, I'm surprised that it even has a pretty positive sentiment online, right? I expected this one to be, not necessarily controversial, but more controversial just because it's one of those things, like you said, when people are used to hearing about bargaining agreements and players associations. Usually it isn't the most fun story. Usually there's a little bit of, well, maybe they're going to go on strike or what are they going to do? I'm going to miss my game. This doesn't have any of that. Maybe it will, but who knows?
I remember when they first announced it, there were you got a few folks going, oh, this will be it. This is the death of the league. CBAs like that isn't the case. I think, like I said, you're getting a reason, like for the players' sake, they get a reasonable deal. And here's the thing too, a lot of these players, I think, like I said, a lot of them, they look at leagues like this. It's not only, it's not just a job. It's also a possible launch pad. So, it's a good place where they want to get film and they want to make sure they're getting it right and that they have some stability when they go here. But they also realize too, this sector of the sport, you have to start somewhere is the thing. It can't, everyone knows you can't be the NFL.
Right.
This is not the OG USFL days anymore. This is new. This is 2020s where we know the NFL is a titan in this realm. It is the de facto American sport. And that's not even like baseball fans, don't even come at me. It is America's sport. It's not baseball anymore. That ship sailed a few decades ago, in my opinion. So, if you're going to go up again, if you're going to be in that same sector, you got to be humble. And that's what you're doing. Some beginnings have to go somewhere. That's where this is at with that CBA. So I think it's like I said, as I said previously, as I've said in other videos, to me, it's a great deal. And now it's official, full vote, 100% vote. Players got behind it fully. And it was nice to see guys like Chris Rowland or like Jeff Ejeckham, who just got signed on, by the way, to the Showboats. Guys commenting on that saying, we're glad to see this. Let's get into season 2 and, start kicking ass, essentially.
Right.
And, some of those guys haven't even really been fully announced. Ejeckham has, Rowland has, although that's hinting at something. Time will tell. I'm just pointing that out. Speculation zone, I guess. Put that as you will. And a great transition into our next segment here, because look, roughly a few days after this was announced, we were expecting this, and people were waiting to see who's resigning, because as the months had gone on, I think a lot more opt-out options were becoming available to certain players, as we noticed. The original possible May clause, I think for a few people got changed, and maybe they said, okay, maybe in the background we got to step back and reevaluate. Because there are a few players, I think, that they came in and they changed and they had to look at it again. So here's some. So we're basically going to list off some guys that really raised some eyeballs here for me for at least this past week. And we got a list of 6. Number 7, I'm not going to reveal because that's our interview, by the way. So I'm going to leave that one for people. Sneaky. See, it's on our notes, but if I do that, all of you are going to go, oh, you dropped it? Okay. I'll leave it as the last one. But here's the list. So kicking things off, and I'm very happy about this because this one to me, look, I'm a Panthers fan, okay? I prided my rushing attack last year because everything was working. And so we got Stevie Scott back. We added Josh Adams, former Notre Dame product, and Reggie Corbin's back, who I wasn't fully sure he would come back. He had been drafted by the XFL in the supplemental draft. Social media works like this. Someone had saw that he retweeted the supplemental draft tweet. And so people went, oh God, he's gone. And I was like, oh, I think he's gone too. And then he basically did a Leonardo DiCaprio and said, I'm not leaving.
Ye of such little faith. And you know what it is? It was the community legend that did it for us. Our boy Ducky. Did you see the DM that he sent him?
This is such a laugh.
I don't remember the specific details. I don't.
Okay.
Well, I remember that Ducky said something along the lines. What was it? He took all of his daughter's college fund. He bet his daughter's college fund on him winning a USFL championship next year, and I can't execute that if you go to the XFL. And that's what
that was what did it. Comedy.
That's what did it, man.
Straight up comedy. And of course what's great is Reggie commented, says this is one of my top 5 DMs I've ever received in my life. But no, Reggie's back. It had been confirmed prior to the transaction that came out this week, but it was official. The thing is, it only is official until it drops on Twitter. Sure. Really, that's not only like me saying that. That's also a league thing. Like if it drops on social, then that's when it's an official transaction. So Reggie's back. Panthers fans like me rejoice. Our backfield is stacked. I'm not even going to be playing around. We might arguably have the best backfield in the league. Generals fans are already typing up replies. I say go at it because I think there's a case. To me, there's a case there. Reggie alone, I think, goes up, and you can square him up against Darius Victor and Trey Williams, at least in terms of one-on-one between one of the two. This is where it's fascinating. I can't wait till next year to see who wins the rushing battles, by the way, because Reggie's definitely going to hit that mark as long as he stays healthy. Moving on down here, got a few more additions here. So Cody Brown is returning to the Stars, by the way, safety, roaming the secondary here. Glad to see him back. Good contributor last season for the team. And then we got 2 Showboats receivers. Now I say this because Showboats, remember, they were originally the Bandits. So if I list these off, these are returning Bandits players that are now converting essentially to the Showboats. But these are still good players to have back, at least ones that were contributors. My only critique with them, gentlemen, I hope you catch a few more balls or a few drops, especially last year. It didn't help Tamu, but you are good receiver talent. That is what I will say. Rashad Davis and Derek Dillon are returning to the Showboats. And here's the kicker. Davis, again, another XFL draftee. He was actually drafted in the main draft. And I think a lot of people had thought he really was gone. I don't know many people that thought he was going to stick around outside of maybe his inner circle. Right. So him coming back is a big win for whoever's behind center. It's not going to be Tamu, by the way. Probably it'll be Brady White or Guy Myers from the looks of the roster over there in Memphis for Todd Haley. But they're going to get 2 receivers that know the system right out of the gate. Brady White especially knows the system. He played at least one game. So there's that. But good to have that base as well. If you're a Generals fan, you also got some guys returning. So all USFL tackle Terry Poole, who was, again, signed to the supplemental draft in the XFL, he came back. He is now, again, back with the league. He is going to be, anchoring that's at least possibly one of the either blind side or one of your sides of your team, probably for DeAndre Johnson or possibly for Troy Williams, or not Troy Williams, or possibly Kyle Laletta. I've seen some people saying Kyle Laletta has a better chance this year than Johnson. So fascinating little conversation on the side. We'll talk about that later on in a different show. And then another cornerback for the Generals, Trey Elston, is returning too. A lot of good names. There's going to be more of these. That's the thing. We keep getting told by the league that there's going to be more that you'll see. At least transactions are going to be picking up. It is now that time that teams are, they're trying to start getting more of their guys back. It's also still, they're trying to see who they want. Plus, there is still that draft that's going to be happening. It is coming up. So, but it's great you get in this one, there's not including the person I'm going to say who we have his interview in a second. 3 all USFL guys returning in this 1 day of transactions lists that came out.
Mm-hmm. I love to see it. Right? I mean, realistically, when you're going into the season 2, we talked about this on the episodes in the past of like, what does a season 2 look like? Clearly, some people leave, some people come back, but what does it truly look like? What does the transactions look like? What do the trades look like? We've been seeing a little bit like more and more of these player transactions or whatever they're officially called in the league, but for a trade, we've been seeing a lot of trades happening. But you gotta love seeing all USFL players coming back. Like, one, the team, Coach Fisher up there when Corbin said, yep, Coach, I'm ready to come back. That had to make him ecstatic because, I mean, realistically, going from season 1 to season 2, you want to keep those production players. You want to keep as many of those guys. You're going to have new guys. The NFL has new guys. Every team has new players every year. But the more you can keep that consistency, the less you'll have to teach. And it's more of, okay, here's a few new guys that we need to bring into the fold rather than half a team, right? And so, like, Corbin, I think, is a huge pickup. The one we'll talk about later. Rashard Davis, though, I think is a solid, good, I know he's not all USFL, solid player, a guy I want on my team. I'm glad that he's back in the mix here. So,
yes.
And like you said, I think we're only going to see more of these. The craziest thing to think about, Zach, we're just a couple days shy of being 3 months out from kickoff. 3 months out from season 2. Next time we do an episode, we're going to be less than 3 months until the USFL kickoff. And maybe even we'll have some spring stock news one of these days. We're working. I know the questions are out there on this, by the way. We're working the details. As such as life, we might have to shift some things around in the background. So that's why we're not announcing anything just yet. But no, it's in the motion. It is. Money's been thrown around already. It is. So.
It's stuff like this, like the signings, that get me thrilled to see what's next. Obviously, people are also waiting. Hey, some folks can't wait to see these official hubs, whatever you want, call it, come up. I'm actually starting to see more when's the schedule coming out releases, which, again, I guess to clarify, you remember, you got to tie back to the hub announcements. Those got to come out first. So, and that's the thing, once that gets all clarified, I think that also helps because we have a few avenues right now. That's what I'm going to put it as. A few avenues for spring stock. Mainly, we're just waiting to see what the league does before we can make our final play on that. And when it comes out, we're gonna be ready to go. And I'm just glad I get to talk more about this because just season 2.
Yeah.
It's finally getting closer and closer as we feel. 3 months away is nuts. The player signings make it feel more I guess closer than you think.
Oh, sure.
With some guys coming back. And that also brings me into our final guy that I think, again, another dude I think people thought was much like Rashard Davis. I think a lot of people thought he wasn't going to return. And I was really thrilled to get a chance to talk to this gentleman. It's one of my all-time favorite interviews I've done doing any show ever. I don't know, I think just because I love the conversation in full. I love just all the different encompassing aspects of it. It was a good time. And Stars fans will be very happy that I also get to interview this gentleman too, as we brought on all USFL talent defensive back Channing Stribling to the show. And I was really ecstatic that I got it, that we hooked up and got to do this. I can't say that enough. And I think you're going to enjoy this too. And we're going to let you check this out. We'll catch you on the other side, but here you are. Here's Channing Stribling for you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcoming everyone into the latest edition of the USFL Podcast interview series, bringing you the latest from players, coaches, and personalities from around the USFL. Today, I have quite the treat for you all. We get to bring in a returning player for the Philadelphia Stars. Actually, it's our first Stars interview on this podcast. I'm shocked I haven't gotten more. I will definitely be working on that as the year goes on. But you not only just get our first Stars interview, but it's an all USFL interview. Someone who re-signed recently with the Philadelphia Stars, and I think fans are happy to have him back. It is Channing Stribling, cornerback for the Philadelphia Stars. Channing, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining. And hey, glad to have you back in here for your second year of the season. How are you? How are you looking here? Things, ink signed on the dotted line. What's going on with you so far now?
Yeah. First of all, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me here. I think last week I signed the contract for the second year. It's great to be back. It's great to be back for sure.
Yeah, and we'll get into a little more of your thoughts going into this season too. I want to definitely revisit a lot talking with you, I guess, about last season, and it's in particular we'll dive into, I think, just because I haven't had a chance to ask any players about this, but I guess going to an NFL training camp right after you play an entire season, which has been, I think a lot of fans have been curious about that. So I definitely want to jump into that. Last year though, I must say, look, you've had quite a resume in tons of leagues at this point, starting out in the NFL, jumping training camp. You got the AAF on your roster, 2020 version of the XFL. You name it, you've been there. How do you analyze at least the USFL's setup and play that you were in last year? Playing in a hub, being in Birmingham with the guys for all 10 weeks, and then getting that Canton experience that you guys had for the championship.
I think it was a little different. I think I did the spring league, so that was actually my first hub series of football. It was only 4 weeks, so I got kind of acclimated to it doing that. And this one was different too. Just having every team in one city, playing every game together, lifting basically with the team. So say you just beat them, or say you just lost, and then you have to work out with them. So
right,
it was a little different. Yeah, it was definitely a little different, but I think it was good. It was definitely fun. To be around the guys. A lot of guys I played with before or played against. So I'm good to just kind of, talk trash a little bit, but also, just kind of talk about our journey and everything. So, yeah.
I think to me, that's fascinating because, you do have, I feel like, at least in some instances, you get a little bit more camaraderie for kind of that same united journey, and it's not just on the field. You get to go back to the same spot and kind of, work along. So you get to be with teams that maybe you weren't with those players in a more traditional football sense. That to me has always been kind of a curiosity of mine. Or you bring back stuff from your talk in the game. I know, for example, and I definitely want to touch on this. I feel like the Stars Generals rivalry is it's brewing. It's I feel like under the surface that is definitely going to be returning this year as something to bring back from how the end of the year went. Do you have any interesting interactions with some guys after maybe one of those two matchups in the regular season, perhaps?
It's funny because I played against, I think, Louise. I played against Louise in a couple leagues. Zoe was on my team in the XFL. I know Toby. Toby's my guy. I didn't really know Vito. I know Vito from other leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and DeJuan played, and we signed to Washington together. So, I know a couple of them just familiarly, but every time I see one of them, I'm gonna talk trash for sure. Especially, I think the biggest thing they came out with the shirts. The coach had a motto. So I'm like, it came out, everybody was matching shirts. What's going on here? Okay, so they think, and then they were kind of like how we would consider them the Cowboys of the league, like the everybody's fan favorite, the team favorite. They would have the offensive Vito won offensive player of the year. They had the MVP. They had the best, defense or whatever. So it was just like, okay, they are basically the Cowboys for sure. Not playing wise but just more of just how the fans and everybody interacts to the Generals. Everyone loves the Generals for sure. So yeah, that rivalry is definitely crazy.
I'm excited to see those matchups next year, just for the fact it seems like you have so many of the returning players from those previous season to kind of interact again, be like, I remember what happened in Canton, Ohio back in June. But right. I'll admit, I was one of those people I actually picked again. I'm one of those people picked against you guys. I had the Generals going. So, hey, I always take the fun upsets.
They're the fan favorites for sure. So it was good to win against them. So it definitely felt great.
That's fun. I love hearing stuff like that. I mean, you had a season of plenty of moments that were highlights. I mean, at least some of them for me. I'm a Panthers fan, by the way, so you got 3 picks off of my squad last year. So I'm definitely remembered a few of those good ones. You got 1 or 2 favorite moments for your last season that stick out to you in particular?
I just being with the guys, man. It was just a lot of moments we've had just in the locker room of just, having conversations just about life outside of football. We're all just different. A lot of us, obviously we all, love the game, but we're just all come from different backgrounds. And it was just unique for us to all come together for a common goal. So, but yeah, I think the biggest moment was just, obviously winning against the Generals, going to the championship. I think, but yeah, one of the biggest ones was playing in the championship and seeing how packed the stadium was. Stadium was actually packed, and we actually had a lot of fans there too. So, it was definitely a lot of Phillies fans for sure. So it was almost like a home game. We had been in Birmingham for so long, so yeah. No, I think that was the best moment. Just how the whole game went. Being down early a little bit and then coming back, and then just everything happened. I think that was one of my favorite moments for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was something that impressed me too. I did get to go to Canton, Ohio for that game. The amount of Philadelphia support, and it's been made talks online. You know the deal. Hey, there's 7 teams in Birmingham that aren't in their own cities, but just seeing that city come over and make that travel there, like you're saying, that surprised me in a very positive way. Yeah. Now
I looked up. I think it was it was a little bit after halftime. I just looked. I was like, we got a lot of fans here. Like it's good right here. So it felt good.
Yeah, it's good to have people rallying behind you here. Right. And I mean, it's curious to see in the next few years where the league goes. So that obviously, we're still waiting on some hub news. So that should be interesting for you guys to be waiting on with the North. But good promising signs there. For yourself, I got to say, so all USFL season, you get to have another chance to go to a NFL camp. You go to Washington Commanders as well, and are pretty much there most training camp through preseason. Take us through how's your body going, at least reacting to, okay, I just played, I was injured for part of the season. I played 7 games, but I still have to go right into, or at least shortly into a training camp setting and be like making sure, hey, I'm 100% ready. I'm in the same mindset of go. What is needed for that?
One is mental. It's all mental. For me, my biggest thing was the ankle injury that I had in the USFL, and then going to, a camp, it was still kind of just lingering, but you can't really say like, yeah, my ankle still hurts. This is over with. So, it's really just mental, just telling your mind, like, just, you got to keep going. For me, like, I've played a lot of football and they've almost been continuous. I wouldn't say for the long stretches of football, but they've been continuous. So, I've gotten into the shape of, just almost playing like a 30 to 40 game season, in football. So, a lot of things you have to just take care of. A lot of things you can't do that that you could do in the college season or maybe in the NFL season. Like I think one is mental for sure. Making sure your mental is on point. Just making sure that you're just locked into knowing that after this you're not done. You still have a whole training camp. You still have OTAs, or you'll skip OTAs. You'll go straight into training camp, which is just straight into it. And then if you make the team, you go straight into the season. So yeah, that's just really the one thing is just mental.
How do you, for a guy like yourself, I mean, you've had, you've pretty much been camp to camp jumping competition as you've gone since you've gotten in the professional scene in 2017. I mean, first off, how do you deal with the travel? Because I mean, I see all these locations and, yeah, sure. Some of them are close, but I think got like San Francisco on there, Los Angeles is on your resume. I mean, how do you handle with going camp to camp around the country and then, keeping yourself on the, all right, we're back in the comp scene. We're back into, it's this guy or me on this roster that I'm competing against.
Yeah. I think for me, I was a military brat, so I moved around a lot anyway. So I'm used to being all over the place. So I was glad to be able to be in, San Francisco. I had never been in San Francisco. Had been to LA before. Had never really been to Cleveland. I mean, I was in the Midwest in Michigan, but I never been to Ohio. So I went to Cleveland. Never been to Indiana. So I just being all these places definitely just kind of eye-opening for me just to be around, different people. And for me, it's just really enjoying the moment, being able to be in this position to do this, to be able to, venture on and still kind of just have this journey to getting better and being great. So just enjoying the moment, one. And then two is just at that point, yeah, it's football, it's competition. I think that's the best part about it, really. It's just all competition. Just having that feeling of, you beating someone out and not being more of animosity behind it, but it's just more just like, it's just a game, it's the game of life.
Sure.
You have winners, you have per se losers, but it's just holding the game of life. You still have to, keep going and just, just keep stacking, really.
Right. Sure. I mean, you're trying to prove your skill set and that what you have on the table is definitely there. I mean, like I said, the accolades from last season, I feel that justifies itself. You get a camp look, especially, off your tape from the previous year, and we have that nod on you. That helps a lot.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, you definitely at least get your fair shot going in,
Right.
and that's something I found interesting. I don't know if anyone else had brought this up to you, at least in Washington. There have been some comments and coaches around the NFL about the readiness of USFL players going in terms of, hey, these guys are already like conditioned into playing. Did you hear anything like that while you were there, or was there anyone that commented on you, hey, your physique's ready to go because you were coming out in July?
I think the comment that I got was, you don't look like you played a whole season or even had an injury, because I'm still making plays and everything it can. I think that was kind of the comments. Then I've heard from other players that, made teams. It was like, yeah, you guys look like you haven't played a season. You've just been, obviously working out, but like you normally in a 10-game season, it's time to wear down, you lose a little bit. But yeah, I think that was the biggest comments for a lot of us. Were just, we came in ready. I think that's the expectation was to be ready, obviously, but it wasn't thought about that we were going to be as ready that we were.
Well, that's interesting to hear. Definitely debate across the spring football landscape. So, something I've been curious about, but I mean, hey, it's like you said, you get ready to play, you get going. It's a job. You get to that next step. So,
right.
Completely understand. And you get to come back to the Stars. It's your second season. You, obviously, a little bit of decision to make. There's more options, of course, as we understand. You were drafted by also one of my favorite teams in the XFL, the Battlehawks. At that time, what goes into for you? Every player's decision is different. I kind of label that. There's different life choices, different things that fit their specific needs. What fit for you in terms of coming back to Philadelphia?
Biggest one was what I'm doing now. I got a big discernment just from, prayer and just watching, sermons and everything. And it just kind of told me that I need to be where I'm at right now. So I'm coaching and training in the Atlanta area. So
okay.
Just a lot of kids that I've been around, I've impacted at this point. It was growing. Just them, kind of looking up to me and just asking certain questions, getting better. I think that's what I needed to do at the moment. And I think it wouldn't make sense to a lot of people, because it's right now it's, this is your life. This is not, it doesn't concern anybody else. But right now it was I had to be kind of selfless. Couldn't be selfish in this decision. That was just the biggest one. And then, off of that was just being able to be in these spring football opportunities and actually getting better. I feel like I've been on, a team for 1 year, and it's just new guys, and that being able to build that camaraderie is really hard to do in that short span of time. Especially if you're losing or winning. If you're winning, it's easy. If you're losing, it's a little difficult. So I feel like we went through our ups and downs. We were able to come together as a unit. A lot of us played in the spring league together, so it was very familiar. So it was easy to just gel, to win, have fun, and do things like that. So I think that was kind of a big thing too. I just kind of wanted to still be familiar with just just the environment that I was in, and also kind of the same thing. Like there's some young guys that that we're going to have on our team that just might need a little bit more push of or insight of this and that. So I would say I wouldn't say it's my job, but it would still be my duty to still help them. So if they get up to the next level, it's still a good thing for me, or just a good thing in general. So just a lot of those decisions really had to be selfless. My biggest thing, what I wanted to do in the XFL, because I did want to join, was timing. Like we talked about, just being able to get done in May. Now you have OTAs, you can rest and do all that, but it was kind of a decision I just had to kind of say, like, I had to be selfless on this. It can be done. I've done it before. I can play a whole season, rest for 2 days, and go straight into camp. I've done it before. That's not really a big issue, but yeah, I think that was the biggest one for sure.
Hey, I get it. Like I said, I got prefaced. Everyone's got their own paths, their own things that they got for reasons. Actually, I guess one of those while you're talking there, where are you coaching at in Atlanta? What's the experience for you with that? Or would you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I coached this year with the DBs in North Atlanta High School. It's in Sandy Springs, alongside one of the USFL DBs, Tyson Graham. He plays on Pittsburgh. Kidding. Yeah, we've known each other for a while. We coach alongside each other. We train. We have a training group here. So we've been doing well. It's been getting good. We've been training guys at the high school, getting a couple guys that are going to college, a couple college guys. So while we train, they train with us. So it's really just, I think that's the best method that we kind of just came up with. It's the best way to go about it. So yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely been fun, eye-opening for sure. Being a player while being a coach at the same time, it's definitely it's different. You kind of have to, you have to put yourself in a high school mindset, because
right.
My mindset now as a professional was not. I tell them all the time, my technique now in high school was terrible. You guys are getting way better than I was. So don't worry about too much. Just kind of take day by day. But this takes a lot. It takes a long time. But it's really the more repetitions you get. So you get less reps, then it's gonna take 3, 4, 5 years. But the more reps you get, the better you'll get quicker. So just eye opening, definitely a blessing for sure. Just to be around the young guys, just try to impact just athletes, on and off the field. So it's not just football things; it's kind of a mindset thing too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you make an impact on a kid's life there as a coach, but I think for yourself, I've never coached in any football setting, but anything I've, when it comes to talking to other players that have also been coaches that I've had with other shows, I feel like you kind of go back. You also for yourself recheck your basics as well. Like maybe you're teaching, but you also go, wait, am I also following these principles, or am I following my own teachers? That you look at yourself too when you go to your play.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think for me, I'm very technical, but also in the game, if I can get to point A to point B a different way that's not very technical, then I won't follow that technique. So they'll see me do things like, well, hold on, why didn't you? Just like when you get to this point of, I wouldn't say perfection, but you get to this point of sort of expertise of doing, being in a certain realm, then you know how to cut some type of corners to get to point A to point B. But right now, you don't know how to even get to point A to point B on the regular road. So
right.
So I think it's good to, and when I'll notice it, because I'll see them do it, perfect or even good, and I'll see me do it. I'll get mine. I'll get to my destination quicker or faster or better, but it was not the way that I would teach. So it's just more of an instinct thing at that point. But I just tell them, like, that comes with time. Once you're comfortable with yourself, then you'll know, okay, I can do this, I can do that. So
yeah. Oh yeah. But you gotta get the fundamentals first before you can start, I guess, expanding your game. That's any position too, like even I used to play lineman in high school. So like, same thing. You gotta get the stance right. You gotta get your hands in front of you, close to the chest. Make sure you're popping. Especially if it's for OL. And if you're center like me, make sure you keep checking your pre-snap reads and seeing if you can recognize blitzes anywhere you can. Might be hard for cornerbacks like yourself for me to identify that, but at least the linebackers, I better be sure I know what I'm looking at there. Totally get that though. For yourself for this year, I think this is what's fascinating with returning players. You're now basically you're USFL veteran at this point. Everyone was, essentially a rookie in that league, but now you're coming back. You're talking about camaraderie. So do you see yourself as like an ambassador for Brad Miller's defense, essentially, for any of the new signings that are coming on, kind of going, all right, this is how we do these things. This is how Coach Miller wants. This is how we need to run our scheme. Do you find yourself being that player, or a few other you guys coming back that way?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it'll be another year of us being in the defense, just knowing where we're supposed to be at. I think it will make it a lot better of just helping any guys that come in that are newer that kind of struggle with it early, because we struggle with it early too. But just helping them out. But yeah, I think he's definitely given us the freedom to what do you guys feel about this, or what do you guys want to do about this, and we've been able to execute just off of that communication. So now year two, it's going to be a lot better versus year one, where you might have hiccups with a coach that might be like, you do this, and this is how it's going to be. And now you have some confidence in your players that they can cycle between if they want to play this or do this.
All right. Well, I completely see that. Channing, before we go, thanks again for joining, by the way. Glad to have a conversation with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how season 2 goes. But for season 2, so you have any for yourself? What's your goals for this second year, or maybe something that you're looking to try and do to kind of hit a benchmark compared to, say, the previous year that you were with Philadelphia?
I think when I did an interview last year before they asked me the same question, I think last year was, become better as a man, one, and then just take a step further in football around. I'm going to say the same thing, just another step of what I learned about myself last year. I think last year, the biggest thing for me was learning about how far can I go? How can my mindset be? Just where am I thinking about, on the field? What am I thinking about off the field? Just, everyday life with teammates and everything. So I think just another step as a man, growing as a leader now. Like you said, we're basically veterans. So growing as a leader, as a man, and then just enjoying football again. I think last year was definitely enjoyable, wins or losses, because we were able to do it just in a way that we wanted to. If we lost, it was still in the way that we wanted it to be. We really, some games we probably beat ourselves, but just the biggest thing is just enjoying yourself. And this football thing is just so quick. And we think about NFL, like that's just in our minds. We've been raised to. There's an end goal to this. I learned about just like NFL, just in general, like football is just really the only sport that is not truly reward based. If you do a podcast and you have just like an NFL legend on the podcast right now, the podcast is probably gonna go up. It's probably gonna keep doing numbers. As you keep going. With football, it's not necessarily like that. You might have a great season, and you might get cut, and you might never play again. Or you might have you feel like a season was bad, and you might, become, the guy just being in the NFL for 6-7 years plus off of that. So just enjoying it, just enjoying the moment, being able to just meet new people that you probably never met, that you thought you never meet before. So yeah, I think just growing in that love of the game. It grows every day. The more I get older, the more I've just been around these leagues. I appreciate the game just by doing these leagues and everything. I think the biggest one was like spring league. Spring league, we were because it was spring league, so it wasn't really a paid league.
Right.
My roommate was Arnold Tarpley. He's on the Pittsburgh team too.
Yeah.
And, I remember we used to wash our clothes in the sink, because I think
for real.
Yeah, the laundry service just wasn't. They weren't like, there's too many people. So we washed our clothes in the sink, dried them with the hair dryer in the hotel room, and we had fun. Like we just had fun, and it was just like at that moment I knew I loved football, because I'm doing this. This would be considered what junior college would be to some people. Like it's JUCO, and that JUCO, like nobody consider would want to do that, but It was fun. It was fun being around my guys. Everybody just loved the game, no matter where you've been, no matter what school you've been to. So the more I've been in these leagues and just keep doing the more I just want to make sure I have fun for sure.
So if I'm hearing you right, just getting to play is a big chunk of the reward, is how I look at it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
I could tell. I can tell from there. That's I see this. This is why I love stories like that. I'm glad you shared that. That's really, it's more of a camaraderie moment, but I mean, that's really cool. Something you can take back with you, and feel like, I guess with this level, and then think of it that way, but maybe you do appreciate the game a bit more for getting to play.
Oh yeah,
just getting that chance.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think just like things like that. A lot of people won't see this side of football. They see go from college and then you're in the league. They don't see that, just those stages that we go through to get back to that moment. But even between that, there's ups and downs. But in this football realm, there's not really a lot of ups if you're in between. And it's like basketball. Like basketball, they have G League. They have all these like European leagues. They have all these leagues where it's like, oh, he still played overseas basketball. Like that's still something. But like, it's a little different when it's, college to NFL to indoor, Canadian football, is whatever. It's just it's almost like people would think it's like a step down. So being able to just enjoy football just in general, having stories like that is where you get to that point for sure. So
Channing, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate the stories, appreciate the insight and everything. I speak, I think, for any Stars fans or anyone in the league, I guess, watching this, that we wish you the best this season. And looking forward to see you rock it for year 2 in the USFL.
All right, thank you for having me for sure.
And once again, shout out and special thanks to Channing for joining the show. Really, I owe him a lot. Dude's really chill. Love the conversation. I mean, you can tell he's happy to play football, as he said. It's part about the game. He's giving back. Of course, he's coaching now, which is still, that's great. And I love the conversation, just that skew, kind of talking like, hey, relearning, talking about your fundamentals a little bit. And, just him getting his chance and saying, hey, this situation made the most sense. And again, I reiterate this, as we said this in the interview, look, no matter what league this is, I say this even to fans, if you're a fan of one or the other, I get it. There's people that are choosing. Players, they have their own decisions. They make their own choices based on their situation. Leagues present their options. You get to choose. Channing got to choose one or the other. He chose this one. It fit his situation the best. And I want to just kind of end it that way, saying I am very thankful he's back. But look, there's no ill will to people that go to their own leagues. That is their choice. It is a job. It is their career path. So happy we get players back. And for those that aren't in the USFL and in the XFL or elsewhere, I'm happy for those players too. They're still continuing their careers. That's what matters at the end of the day, still, no matter what.
Well, and you're leaving out a real important factor in this too. I mean, yeah, I would love to see everybody play in the USFL. Some of these guys are going to go to the XFL, and I'd bet you they get a pretty hot discount on those new dresses they got. I bet you they could, dude. I mean, all the XFL players' wives are going to have those sweet dresses. I don't know, Zach, which style fit me best?
Oh my! You're going to do this? You better put this tweet up on.
I'll put it on the screen
on here.
I do want to say I was just having fun. I really thought people would laugh on both sides of like the thing. Boy, was I wrong, Zach. Boy, was I wrong.
I think I said it on my own response. I think option 1. I think it's just the best edit. I'm going off an edit. It's the best edit. Okay, that's what I'm putting. I think it's hilarious.
I laughed. Too hard at it.
freaking funny. Hey, look, if you want, go to that tweet. Let him know what you think. It's still very much up there. You can choose whichever one. We will gladly listen to responses. It'll be hilarious. But I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to pull that one out.
I had to go into it deadpan. I couldn't give it away.
Awesome.
But no, I mean, seriously.
Awesome.
I joke. I like I said, I like both leagues. I have season tickets for the Roughnecks, so I'll be there. And if guys, if y'all are in Houston,
I'm going to Battlehawks home opener. I'm stoked to be there.
There you go.
That place can be rocking.
We just like football. We like it all. You know what I mean? It was funny. I had one of the fans of ours respond to one of my Twitter posts earlier today, Thursday, the day that we record. And I had posted something about the XFL. I can't remember what it was. It was positive, right? And he said, "Hey, man, what the hell? You're changing sides on me." And I said, "Oh, I mean, why not both, you know?" And I thought he was asking why we don't do an XFL show. I was like, maybe one day we're kind of busy. He's like, "No, I don't want you to do an XFL show. We need a USFL." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we got you covered then. We're all set. We're good." And hey, by the way, we got a good big show tomorrow, which is today now. So I hope you're watching and I hope you're enjoying. And if you're here, make sure you hit the like button on the video. Everybody else, feel free to do so as well. Just sign you up.
Mm-hmm. Helps build morale too, by the way, and
I think
helps spread the video too. If you want us to check, if you want other people to check out the show, got a few more things here. Like I said, we teased and more.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few more stuff. One of them is going to be a little. I think it's a little more speculation zone-ish, but I still think it's worth. We still think it's worth touching up on. In terms of Northern Hub. So stay tuned with that. Something we got to commend though. Look, KaVontae Turpin's story continues to just help. It really helps spring football in general. I can't even just say the USFL. It helps legitimize other leagues, the ELF, the FCF. Dude has been basically grinding for 2+ years trying to get back up to an NFL level. And, he did it this year. And also TSL, I got to add them in too. Brian Woods' baby as well was definitely helped with this journey for Turpin. But now think about this. So he joined up. He's at a full season. He's been arguably the best punt returner in the league this year in terms of at least net yardage. And he's been getting accolades for that. So he's a Pro Bowler. And this week, here's the thing, the NFL, they switched to a player voting system for an All-Pro this season. It's the first time they've ever done it. The Players Union voted on that. And his own player pool voted him as the All-Pro punt returner. Just wow. Props to you, good sir. That is an incredible achievement. Someone that definitely deserves it. I mean, think about this. In his 1 year, he still has the playoffs to play, by the way.
Straight up.
Dude's played over 30 game, or is basically pushing the 30-game mark right now. He will be pushing the 30-game mark because he played, of course, that already has hit that mark in terms of preseason too. So, MVP of one of your leagues, All-Pro in another league. And he's going to get a Pro Bowl nod, all within the span of less than 365 days and one under a rotation around the sun. That's insane for any player.
It's pretty crazy, and you touched on this. It couldn't happen to a more deserving guy, right? Fan-controlled football, ELF, the Spring League, USFL, finally really gets the notoriety he deserves, probably the eyeballs he deserves. Nothing against the Spring League, but I don't know how many Americans are watching ELF. I know the diehards are, but your average guy, I don't know. Fan-controlled football, similar story. I think that, and even them we've talked about in the past, they're almost they're their own things. He's come, he's gone, he made an impact, he made a difference. The MVP going from the USFL to the NFL, and then not just getting a job in the NFL, playing meaningful minutes, making meaningful plays, and like you said, voted on by his peers. That's gotta feel good, man. That's gotta feel good after all these years working your way up. You get to the NFL and it's a success. And now he's in the playoffs. The dude has more games to put under his belt. And I think it has something to say about the timing of the USFL season too. I think there's a little bit of benefit there. Is, the USFL season ends, as training camps, things like that are kicking off for the NFL. So these guys, again, KaVontae Turpin could take the stride, the momentum he had in the USFL season the same year and just carry that on, right? And bring it forward.
It's funny because Channing Stribling also, as we just saw with the interview, same deal. He was getting a few of those comments that he wasn't expecting to. Some people didn't expect him to be as, up and spry as he had been. Even though he had his own few bang ups going in, he still was getting some of those nods. So I just like I said, this I think over exceeds just our league. It definitely, as the ecosystem for alt football, it is a win for that ecosystem. And you can kind of champion that player is hey, look, there's a reason why these leagues should have its own skew. Look, we get it. Not everyone can get up there, but if you get that shot and you run with your shot and teams say, oh, we missed this guy. And yeah, you have someone come in and they prove that that's huge. That's great for teams. For the NFL in particular, they scout these leagues, but it makes them want to scout them, I think, even more.
100%.
Because now you're going to look at these lists like the all USFL talents. I think you look at that list a little bit harder every time you see someone like that go up and make an impact in that regard.
Right.
These guys are doing it right. I have connections down there. I should take a look and have my scout teams go and sit in on a few more games, maybe. If these guys are game ready, maybe some dude pops off. Maybe they want a little bit more than my guy that is a little, maybe one dude's a little more comfortable. And this guy, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to come in. I need a winner.
Right.
That's the type of stuff I think you look at. There's a place for this. People know there's a place for this now. And that's been built up for the last few years. That Turpin is just another kind of pillar as a guy you can say, that's why this should exist. Yep. And you shouldn't disregard this skew of the sport.
Right. And it'll be very interesting to see what things look like at the end of season 2 USFL. If there's more immediate attention. They're not free agents, right? They're not free agents, but they do have the right to, if they're offered an NFL contract, they can move on, which, sign them up, right? That would be pretty crappy thing to do and say, no, you can't, right? I think and quite honestly, Fox, USFL, they know that's a good thing on both parties because it makes them a good viable option for people looking to try to, take that next step in their career, right? Mm-hmm. And with KaVontae Turpin, we're getting that put right out, like big news, big story, big name to go into the season 2 of like, well, hey man, that could be me next year. Right. Yeah. Or even like you meant, chip on the shoulder. There's some of these guys in USFL season 1 that are probably like, I should have got my shot. I'm going to show you in season 2 that you guys made a mistake. You could have had me on the Lions. You could have had me on the Jaguars or whoever it might be. But now I'm here. I'm going to bang it up again and then go into the NFL and complete my stride. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out next year. But I would assume we'll probably see more attention just right out the gate, just based off of, this right here, this story right here,
So here's what I find fascinating. Like, I think I look at with Turpin in particular. So you don't look, I think, at the alt community as in general completely in terms of watching him during the season. You also want to see, all right, what does the Dallas Cowboys community think of? What does the NFL community think? And it's been also just as positive. But I think, again, they also go, oh, dang, this guy from the USFL is coming up, and maybe I got to check this out, or I got to check out some spring football. But also, I've seen Cowboys fans that they're like, maybe we should get this guy some more offensive targets, because he has had a few like 5 receiver set options. He is in that depth chart. It's just he's not their main guy. There's Dallas is a pretty talented receiver core, so it's kind of hard to break in. But there's people that are like, hey, this guy's a speedster. Like, if he's got good hands, which he showed off in training camp, by the way, that he does have good hands, and he showed in the league, he's got good hands. Maybe we should give him some more reps. And then he gets more on the offensive side, credit, you gotta be careful, because some teams, I'll admit, they want those punt returners to be only punt returners. Focus on your job because it's crucial. One fumble and there goes a possession. So there's that. But the more you hear it and the more you see teams go, oh yeah, this guy's got 4.4 speed and can outrun anybody. If we get him a good player, like a reverse or something, if we get him like a quick pass or let him get in space, which we saw in the league plenty of times, Generals were happy to have him for that. More opportunities that way too. But look, dude's already named himself. He's got multiple year contracts still. This is good. It's pretty much as good as it gets right now.
100%. And you know what? It opens up the door for newer guys like Cordell Jackson, 2-time consensus All-American.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm telling you, I'm sure there's probably a lot of USFL coaches that are like, what?
What is with this Cordell Jackson push? I keep getting messages about Cordell. That makes me think it's and some of you might be watching this and you don't know the meme, but I've seen the one that's just like stop posting about type of thing. Stop posting about Cordell Jackson. all I hear is Cordell Jackson. I jump onto Discord and I see Cordell Jackson. I go on to my Twitter and I see, hey, have you heard of the 2-time all-consensus All-American from Austin Peay?
I want that dude to get a shot in the USFL so bad now.
I do too.
So
I think
much.
it's a mission now.
I mean, I'll tell you, dude. The dude's highlight tape ain't too bad. I'm not gonna lie, it ain't bad at all. So I'll tell you, any coaches out, I already know there's a couple that were, checked on it. I don't know if they're gonna do anything with it. I want it to happen so much just for being able to watch this happen from the beginning, because it was, I think his mom was the one who asked permission to post his highlight tape in our Discord. I mean, of course. Yeah, sign him up. Let's see it. Mm-hmm. And then I said, oh, wow, you know what? This is actually good. Because I'd say there's at least 5% of the emails I get where I'm like, I don't know. But this one is, I said, okay, look, this guy knows how to play football. His speed was pretty good for defensive back from what I could remember. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I want this to happen. If there's any coaches out there and somehow you haven't been accosted in your comments on Twitter about Cordell Jackson, 2-time consensus from Austin Peay State University, give the guy a look. Check him out. All you need to do is search his name on Twitter. Something will come up. Something will come up. And it's probably in your comments already. But make it happen.
Jaron knows about him now. There's no way he doesn't. I mean, he's on our Discord for crying out loud. Like he's had to have seen it.
Which I'm telling you guys are missing out if you're not in the Discord. The party don't stop in the Discord. I'm actually quite amazed.
It's only getting more popular as the weeks have gone by. It really
is. I mean, it's almost 4 years that I started the Discord, Zach. That kind of blows me away.
That's kind of crazy.
I think it's February 12th, but I could be off a couple days or so. But it's almost been 4 years. We're over 1,000 people on the Discord, which, I mean, doesn't seem like a lot because when you look at like social media, mm-hmm. and we by far we don't have, 1,000 people active on the Discord. But sometimes it feels like it, Zach. That thing is right. Popping. And if you want to join the party, click the link down below because, I mean, this goes for any fan of any league, too. We're talking basketball, football, college. You name it, we're talking about it in there. And you get to hang out with us and see. I mean, the memes have been off the hook lately. I'm not going to lie.
Chris.
And you never know who you're going to see in there, as we saw this past week. So you're missing out if you're not in the Discord.
Without a doubt, dude. Check that out. We always put the link in the description, by the way. Mm-hmm. So you just got to click it on, and it's pretty quick time. You basically join. It's free. It's all you got to do is just to activate it, make an account, and you'll have some fun. Before we head out today, so there's been some stuff. I'm going to call it. You know what? I'm calling this speculation.
Oh, this is speculation zone.
This is.
I think
we get to slap. We're slapping it on here. Take it away. Cue the music.
There we go. All right, good.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another speculation zone, as we are going to jump right back into more of that latest on the hub news. That's a big topic around here. We're all, I think, waiting on the edge of our seat, the balls of our toes, or the balls of our feet, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I tried to be funny about that, and it was a dumb joke. But we're here, and we keep hearing more things about the Northern Hub. So here's the reference point. So if you guys follow USFL Network, Angelo over there, he is the guy who covers a lot of the New Jersey Generals content. He does Generally Speaking, talks a lot on that video podcast. And he does some reports for the USFL Network. He reported that the USFL could land in Detroit or Canton for 2023. Here's the thing. The setup as this supposedly would go would be Detroit would be hosting the Panthers, of course, but Michigan would also be inviting over Philadelphia, whereas Canton would host the Generals and the Pittsburgh Maulers in this potential scenario. Again, nothing is completely 100% set in stone. The league hasn't said anything about this, but this is something, USFL Network does have their connections.
Mm-hmm.
So we do want to talk about that because this is another step in that direction. We remember last time we talked about the hubs, it was about, okay, Michigan's got 2 possible destinations. There's a Detroit news write-up from a accredited journalist that had put that they are going to Detroit. At least, so that was as far as we could go with that last one. This one, it's definitely more of a speculation because we are waiting on things. But first time we've heard Canton, which, remember, let's rewind back to the summertime. They like Canton. They like the Hall of Fame. There's a good relationship with the Hall of Fame with the United States Football League. Not fully out of the realm of possibility. In my eyes.
100%. Well, we learned at the championship game, we were there with James Larson. I know he had a couple interesting conversations about this way back then, on where we heard from people within the league that they would not be disappointed to use Canton as a hub. I think we talked about it in probably a few speculation zones over the summer of, hey, what if Canton is a hub? We even speculate, what if it's a third hub? Maybe we had a north, and that acts as a third. Now, at this point, it looks like it would serve as a fourth hub. We would have Detroit and Canton. Additionally, it doesn't look like any of the teams would rebrand. Canton would just be a hub with the Generals and the Maulers. Something to keep in mind here, Zach. A little geography for everyone out there, because I had to look this up myself. It's only 2 hours from Pittsburgh, Canton, Ohio is.
It's a very short drive. All things considered.
I mean, it ain't as far as Birmingham, right?
Well, in some NFL teams, you think about this, they have to drive an hour. Some people have to drive an hour plus to get their stadium.
Me? That's me.
Well, yeah, you. But even some of them aren't in metro where they're located. So, for example, think the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and one road in, one road out too.
Right. They're located in Foxborough, Massachusetts. That is not directly in downtown Boston. It is outside of Boston by, if I remember checking last time on the map, an hour and a half drive. That is a haul, but it's a reasonable haul for those fans. Pittsburgh fans, there were some Pittsburgh fans that showed up to go to Birmingham. I definitely think that there are chances to, see some fans. The only question I think some people has is, well, it's not directly in Pittsburgh. So that's what you'll be fascinated if that happens, by the way. But there is, to me and to you, from what you're making it implied, that kind of becomes Pittsburgh's domain, with New Jersey as being kind of the tag-along partner in this setup. Kind of like how, the Breakers, they're tagging along with the Stallions, the Gamblers are tagging along with the Showboats. This would essentially be Pittsburgh's main section. Yes, it would be advertised with the relationship with the Hall of Fame, but 2 hours away, kind of leaning towards the Pittsburgh market best you can on this one in Eastern Ohio.
Especially if my premonitions come true and the Maulers have a revenge season. And I'm telling you, it could happen. There's a lot of ways it could happen, but more importantly, the biggest one of them all, Zach, it's spring football. You know what we haven't seen ever in our lifetimes? Season 2. Well, maybe in my lifetime, but that was I was a little baby at that point. But you get my point here.
Your cognizant lifetime. When you were able to realize what was happening.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of my point here is it's been a while. And so I think there's all the chances. Same with the Panthers, bro. I mean, the Panthers get the number 1 pick, but the Maulers aren't too far behind with the number 2 pick. They've been
and that backfield. I'm going to keep, you give me a chance to say it, I'm going to keep saying it.
And sign you up, good for you guys. I'm just waiting because I'm going to go into this season with a different approach. I'm going to be a little bit more modest. But once the Gamblers win the first game, because they're going to win it, and they're going to win it by a lot.
So are you saying they're going to win home opener, or at least the first week?
Oh, no, Zach. I'm going to say they're going 10-0. But I was just teeing it up I'm going to be very modest this year until they get their first win, first week, right off the bat. I mean, the other team might as well just give up at this point. Throw a flag. Gamblers already take the game. When that happens, when they win, whether it's by humiliating whoever their opponent is, or if it's by, I don't know, anything, any different reason, then I will be more relentless than ever, Zach, because we're not just going a little bit in. We're not partially in. We're going all in. We're going all in. 2023 is the year of the gamblers. We don't even need a hub. That's how good we are.
Chips pushed up.
And here's the thing. We're going to be so good. Zach, the gamblers are going to be so good that the USFL is actually going to undo. They're going to go into smaller hubs in their third season and just do a Birmingham and pull all the teams into Houston just to show them what a winning team looks like. That's how good we're going to be in 2023. Book it now, place your bets, but gamble responsibly.
And then the league does charity poker events. Sorry, I'm not going to, because I got to put that in there. It's charity.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I kid. Speculation zone wise, we've heard Canton named for a long time as a possibility. We've speculated about it in the past. I don't even know how many times, but at least at minimum 3. This being at minimum the 4th. And at a certain point, you can only speculate so much until you have to say, well, gee, Zach, I think it might be happening. Now, is it good? Is it bad? I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out on TV. To me, it's a positive. Hey, we got the league from 1 hub into 4 hubs. It doesn't play host to any of the teams specifically, but you have the 2-hour drive from Pittsburgh. You have the additional benefit of having the Pro Football Hall of Fame right there. So people could do like a dual trip, right? I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb, Zach, that there's a lot of football fans that maybe haven't gone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame yet. I mean, I've gone twice, but it took me like 20 years to go again, you know? And I mean, maybe it has been 20, 30 years since you've been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I can tell you, Zach, there's been a lot that's happened in the last 20, 30 years, which means that there's a lot of new things at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, including this. I'll say the 3D hologram show was pretty sweet.
That is incredible.
And we didn't even need glasses for that.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat. And you know what? That blew me away, Zach. No charge for it. No. Tell me the last time you've been to a museum or anything that had an exhibit that didn't cost anything.
I was expecting that. So that's pretty cool. I mean, look, if you haven't been there in a while, I think that's fully worth it. You totally check that out. If, like I said, if they go, you might as well make the trip. But here's the thing, though. Something that it shows I hadn't been to the Hall of Fame in a while. Reminder, they're building the Hall of Fame Village. So they're trying to make the Hall of Fame like a vacation destination for football fans. Or as they've listed on their website, football heaven. And, I've called it football's Mecca. We're talking our journey. You got to get out there and visit once or so, because it's all that history that's available to you about this sport, and how much you love it. It's a treasure trove of things. It's not just it's not just NFL as of today. It's everything that led up to what the sport is in terms of American culture today. So that's a great, like I said, if this does indeed pan out and play out like it's at least being hypothesized to be, there you have it. And I mean, they were building up, pieces of the village while we were there. That construction definitely will have progressed a lot by this spring, methinks.
Yeah.
And the stadium definitely, it was part of that revitalization. It's a very decent capacity stadium. It's not as big as Protective, but if we're talking TV, it doesn't look too bad on TV. And if you're worried about attendance because of neutral site games, think of it this way. If I'm NBC and I look at it and I go, am I worried about open space? My best way of looking at this is, well, if the neutral sites don't get as many tickets, there's at least looking like there's less space that's empty. If you're looking at the positives, you're going, we better market a lot to Pittsburgh and a lot to Eastern Ohio, is your other thing. So I think they're hoping Maulers games, like we said, will be those ticket draws. Or you just say, hey, Hall of Fame's got live football as part of its attractive summer packages. Hey, bring the kids out. Football Hall of Fame, check out. If you're a sports fan, it's an ultimate destination at this time. Bring it for a weekend, type of do something like that.
I think, I'm not going to say it's going to be a packed house every week, right? But I think that they will definitely be able to draw people in without a home market. Now, what would be interesting to see is, let's say, because in anything, there's a metric that you gauge for success, right? Yeah. And let's say they go into this season, they have Canton as a hub. Like I said, it's really just hosting two teams, not hosting a team. But what if it hits the mark, or maybe hits a little bit better? As the league, you almost have to look and say, do we want to put a team? Maybe you don't rebrand a team, but we've heard one of the things that the league would like to work towards in the future is some type of expansion. Now, they don't want to go crazy right away. You want to get settled. Yep. Oh, sorry, guys. You want to get settled in your markets first. I'm glad that this was not full, by the way, guys. Well, I guess it's an igloo, so it's pretty good, but that could have been disastrous. But anyway, you look at that, and let's say you do maybe better than average or on average or what you were hoping to do. Maybe you do bring in a team, the as Ducky had asked for, the Canton Gold, or something Canton like Gold. That. And I think if they did host a team, if there was a Canton team, I'm hard-pressed to think those people don't show up. I'm hard-pressed to think the people of Canton, Ohio, the birthplace of professional football, do not show up.
And one of the first true multi-time champions in the original NFL setup too. Right. At least in pro football's early journeys, Canton Bulldogs. Gotta remember that. Which I believe is the high school's namesake, by the way, now, is that they are the Bulldogs. So taking a little bit of history. So you wouldn't really want to use that. But I think, look, there seemed like there was going to be some interest last year. The MLFB, for whatever you want to go with it, they were supposed to try and go out there. So, there's been thoughts. Think about this as well. And I also say this because it's not a reasonable drive either. I did this when I was up there, met up a friend. I have a buddy in Cleveland. Cleveland is also not very far from Canton, Ohio. It is only, I believe, 2-hour drive as well. So you're kind of at the epicenter of two markets. Credit, different ideologies, different sports fandoms. I'm not going to tell you that Pittsburgh and Cleveland fans are going to get along. That would be quite the stretch from history in just NFL football. But if you're going to market, it does help to have it where you're only a few hours away from two of the larger cities in the United States.
100%. And that's the thing too. Hey, maybe you were thinking about going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but then you look, hey, they're going to have football one of these weeks. Well, maybe I'll wait a couple weeks, or I'll come a couple weeks early and go catch a game. Maybe you caught one of the USFL games last year and you're like, oh, that thing, it's back, second year, sweet. Yeah. Now it's a little bit closer to me. Let me just check it out. I don't, how this all plays out, what tickets look like, I don't know, but I would go on a limb and say probably going to be affordable. What does affordable look like? I don't know, but probably similar to what we saw in Birmingham.
Well, yeah. And here's another question, because I know, so if and when you see the Detroit hub, look, again, where there's a lot of smoke, there is definitely high possibility of fire. It just needs to be officially put out there. They're already doing season tickets for Birmingham and Memphis setups. So do you do season tickets for Canton? Because it's a lot more neutral. It's not, unless they market where they're trying to advertise Pittsburgh fans. I'm very fascinated if they try and do season tickets, or if they say, you know what, we'll do the Birmingham mentality, $10 ticket nights and all that. Because I could see them doing that. It's a neutral site, and they just say, screw it. Maybe we'll do here's $10 ticket things. And if you go on the Hall of Fame website, you can get a package where you can do a weekend. We'll have it as part of a chip-in deal where, for either an add-on, or you do a Hall of Fame, stay where you get maybe you get a local hotel plus Hall of Fame tickets, plus here's your game tickets for how many family members,
which,
cause that's the part. If you do Canton, the ticketing for that's going to be the most fascinating out of all the hubs, if it is a hub.
Right. Well, because there's attractions there. And that's the thing that you mentioned, is it's not going to be ready for this season, but they're building that village. Part of which is a nice hotel that they're building right into that whole complex, if you will.
Yeah, our summer stock was right in front of where they're building this rest of this complex. And, honestly, if the league happens to go back and we have to figure out summer stock again there, that'll be fascinating. To me, it'll be fascinating to go back no matter what, just to see
the difference.
Hey, how much has this changed? Because whenever this project's fully done, I'm going back to do the entire experience as a fan of the Hall of Fame. And just, I love football. I just love this damn sport so much. It is a pillar in my life, like many of you, I think, watching. And it was great to be there last year just for that Hall of Fame experience.
I'm just thinking about this, Zach. Do you remember how upset I wasn't really upset, but remember how it took us like a week, or I don't know how long I was there, but it took me easily like 4 days. It was the last day I think we were there that we realized we could cut through to the stadium. We drove around this long, we drove out to the main road and through the main road and through some construction and through this other thing. But there was all this construction around us and it seemed like there was no straight way through. Turns out there was, like one block over. I just remember I made a wrong turn and I was like, wait a minute here. Our Airbnb's right there. We've been doing this so stupid the whole time. I don't know. Either way, it just kicked into my head. I would love to go to that Airbnb again, but once they do have the hotel there, sign me up, dude. You know how awesome that would be to just have that hotel at the Hall of Fame. You just walk downstairs. We're doing spring or summer stock or whatever stock you're stocking at the time. Sign me up. I'll always go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Another year, new inductees too. So there is definitely stuff there. Probably some new stuff in the USFL exhibit. Sorry.
I am hoping Devin Hester goes this year. It wouldn't be in officially at that time because they reveal the busts and everything during at least the Hall of Fame game set up in August. But it'd be kind of cool to kind of see, because they set up at least the plaques for the future ones, I believe, if I remember last time I was there. I would love to see Hester's nameplate there. So
make it happen, guys.
Being a Bears fan. Yeah. Please, I beg you. He's a finalist this year. Make it fully happen. I want him to be in.
Well,
you
need it too, man. After that shellac and the Lions did to you a couple weeks ago. Man, usually I give people a hard time online. I couldn't even do that to you, Zach. I felt bad.
I'm happy for you. I'm not even going to go farther than that. I'm just happy.
Number one pick,
okay?
baby. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, sign you up.
Yeah, that too. Look at you, pepping me up after bringing me down a little.
I mean, there's some gold out of there. At least you didn't do like the Texans did the last couple of years and screw that up.
True that. Jeez. Hey, I've said this to people already. It don't matter which league with the Houston team right now. Honestly, if you're the XFL or USFL, dude, you are in prime real estate to make an impact in the Houston market if you play your cards right. Pun intended, even fully.
And we know who it's going to be. 10-0, all in. Chips all over the place.
They're playing the long game, but it's because the Texans can't play the short game whatsoever.
I made a mistake, Zach. We're not going 10-0. I need to clarify that.
No?
We're going 12-0. 12-0.
Oh, look, you did. I'm glad, because you know what? If you didn't say that, someone in the replies is gonna be like, or on the comments maybe or something for the podcast will be like, so yeah, you're gonna lose. Who are you gonna lose to? The Stallions again?
12-0, baby. All in.
Freaking awesome. I love the confidence. I think that's a good note to end on right there.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. Well, everybody, look, it's season 2 for us. It's officially started. Again, if we didn't reiterate this enough in our end of the year recap, thanks for the journey so far, and welcome to the next phase of the journey in season 2 of our show. Plenty of stuff on the horizon that we are thrilled to bring in this next year to help improve the show even more than we already have tried through year 1. Again, as we've said, follow us on social media. We have been having a great time on Twitter as of late,
maybe
as well
too much
as other
fun.
ones. And again, we are going to. And again, tomorrow, here's the thing. Tomorrow, we are going to be posting that our first TikTok video. No matter what it is, it's going to be something. It'll be goofy. You can call it cringe. I don't care. We're getting the TikTok content out. I will be posting more, also show content on there moving forward. So, check that out at USFL Podcast as well for TikTok and Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet while you're watching this show, hey, good chance right now while you're at the end, if you enjoyed it, click the icon, the subscribe red button on the bottom, and then click the bell. It builds morale, people. It builds morale, not only for you, but for us too. And you also get to enter into that jersey giveaway. We're pushing that 5,000 mark. We are going to give away that custom jersey. You could possibly have it. And again, check out merch, breakingtees.com, breakingtea.com, 10% off using code USFL Newsroom when you check out. Folks, catch you on the other side for episode 43 or episode 2 of season 2, whatever way you want to spin it. It's season 2, ladies and gentlemen. And for my buddy, the ref, I am Zach Kyleman. So long. Catch you next time. And stay classy out there, people.